Let's go make a killing.
All right.
Welcome to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
10 to the 5 to the 4, play one, touchdown!
The sharpest football contest show in the land.
I'll take the action. My Birds, Benjamin Franklin's team, favored by 1.5 points. I'll give you 3 more.
You're now riding shotgun with 2 former contest winners in Brady Cannon and James Salinas. And getting a former player's perspective with 9-year NFL veteran Mike Pritchard.
Let's go!
As they guide you through strategy, process, and your contest picks each and every week of the season.
I do like the idea of a parlay.
Now here's your host, Brady Cannon.
Week 6, Season 2, Episode 7. Welcome back, everybody. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by Circus Sports and Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. I am Brady Cannon, along with Mike Pritchard and James Salinas. Let's take a look at the Las Vegas Football Contest landscape here. The Survivor Carnage hit big time in Week 5. 75% of the field is gone in Circa Survivor. Just over 4,600 entries remain. Only 16 of an original 69 remain in Circa Grandissimo, and just 25 entries of an original 111 are still involved in the $5,000 Super Contest Survivor. The Cardinals, the Bills, and the Patriots, the biggest offenders in Week 5, they took out nearly 8,000 people just in Las Vegas Survivor contests alone. But the good news is, we more than doubled our life expectancy here in Circa Survivor in year 2 of our experience. If we more than double our lifespan next season, we'll have a good chance to make some money. So we have that to look forward to, boys. By the way, the Against the Spread contest, not going too badly for us. We are still well ahead of the curve with the consensus, just continuing to struggle. The consensus was 2-3 in Circa Sports Million, 3-2 in the Westgate Super Contest, 14, 35, and 1 combined overall now through 5 weeks. That is just about 29%. If you're fading the consensus, you're making a lot of money. The Super Contest College Contest, Play It Down, is now in the lead with 29.5 points. Our friend Noah Parker, Crooklyn Bala, just a point back at 28.5 points. And Bear Bets, I got to believe that's our friend Chris Felica, just a couple points out of the lead there at 27.5. 8 weeks remain in the Super Contest College Contest. Boys, welcome back to the program. Let's talk some NFL for about the next hour or so. And yeah, we're primarily going to be talking against the spread today because we are out, like so many other people, in Survivor Contest. Let's begin. We have another London contest. We have another Monday night doubleheader. James, I'll begin with you. The winless Jets taking on the Denver Broncos, coming off of a big win over the Philadelphia Eagles.
What's interesting about the Jets is it was all supposed to be about the defense. We know there's a lot of talent on that defense, really good secondary, great defensive front, has been for the last couple years. And that's what's, if you want to call them competitive, they haven't been. It's been just a mess of a franchise for such a long time, but it's been the defense at least that they felt like, all right, we got one of the best units on the field to try to keep us in games. And that's what's been killing them so far this season. The defense has been absolutely awful. They're 0-5, obviously, this season because of their defense. They've had the last 4 games, they've had no takeaways and only 3 sacks. And I think that's going to be a tough matchup, but it's going to be going across the pond having to play Denver. Denver coming off a really impressive 4th quarter. Not very impressive for the first 3 quarters in Philadelphia, but as we saw on Thursday Night Football, Philadelphia finding a way again to lose football games. Well, that's what they did to the Denver Broncos. So I think for Denver, it was a big contest for them from the standpoint of a lot of expectations, Pritch, for the Broncos coming into this season after last year, really exceeding expectations and making the playoffs as a wild card. Were the Broncos now coming into this season? Could they contend in the AFC West against the dreaded Kansas City Chiefs? And this was a statement game for them. Could they compete with the world champs for 4 quarters in Philadelphia, making that happen in the 4th quarter, running away with that game and winning that game, now taking that momentum on the road across the seas over to London? I think right now with the Jets where they're at and the new coach Glenn, I don't know, Pritch, are the Jets player, it doesn't sound like the Jets are buying what Coach Glenn is selling.
Right. The problem with the Jets is the same problem as Ben. It doesn't matter who's the quarterback. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It's just the culture. And I don't know what it is in terms of the building. I don't know if it's cursed or not, but it doesn't matter who you bring in there, who you change. It's just the culture is so bad. I mean, think about how undisciplined the Jets have been throughout the early part of the season. Almost got a victory on the road against Tampa. And you would think that would have been that moment for the Jets right there in terms of making things happen and building on some positive momentum. But no, it seems like they're going the other way. And, the Broncos, I think you said it perfectly, James. Philly lost that game more so than the Broncos winning it. The Broncos kept themselves in that game. And I think from a betting perspective, that's what you can lean on, is that defense is going to keep them in most, if not all, of their football games. So now they go on the road across the pond. And my time with the Broncos, Pat Bowlen, the owner at the time, he was a part of it, or he was head of the travel committee. So each and every year we were on the road somewhere around the world. We were going to Japan, we were going to Barcelona to play these preseason games. And now you got the Broncos overseas again. And the history of the Broncos travels well. It's one of those franchises in which there'll be a lot of fans supporting the Broncos. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I know it's a neutral site, a neutral feeling game, but certainly I have my lean and my everything that I have in terms of what I want to bet is leaning towards the Broncos in this matchup. But, a closer one, guys, and a divisional one is very interesting because the Pittsburgh Steelers quietly have gone about their business. And if you look at the mess within the business up and down that division, obviously you're going to see the Pittsburgh Steelers on top with an excellent chance of winning that division just by default. But what are your thoughts on this matchup there, Brady?
Well, this is an interesting one. And we have a team headed to London in the Broncos you talk about it. And a note on the Jets, too. We put a lot of blame on Aaron Glenn, and I don't disagree with that. Steve Wilkes, now for the second year in a row, you talked about the defense, James. Steve Wilkes did not run a good defensive unit with the 49ers last year, and not off to a great start with the New York Jets either. So that game in London, and then returning from London, the Pittsburgh Steelers' opponent, Mike, the Cleveland Browns, they did not take a bye week. That scares me. I don't like playing on a team without a break after a trip to London. The other thing, the conflicting angle for me here, is the Steelers have been rolling. As you point out, they're in first place, for God's sakes, 4-1. We didn't expect that. Aaron Rodgers feeling fat and happy. He's feeling spry like he's 35, not 45 or whatever he is. But, they're on a roll, and then they have that momentum stopped with a bye week. So that's the situation I don't like to buy into either. The market has, shown some belief in the Steelers here as we've gone from 5.5, what it is in both contests at the Westgate Superbook and Circa. The market has a lot of 6s in it now, so I can see the Steelers being a popular play. Dylan Gabriel, of course, at the helm for the Cleveland Browns. I understand people wanting to bet against them, division matchup, all that. It's probably a stay away for me. The next one on the board, guys, is one that we talked about. And wait, I don't know if we have animosity built up towards the Cardinals for knocking us out of Survivor. I think a lot of people have animosity built up against the Cardinals. But James, this Colts team looks really well-rounded. They're really good in every facet of the game.
And they look hungry. That last week was the perfect spot for them to have a letdown spot playing the lowly Raiders, and they put it on them. They started off fast and they finished. I mean, they absolutely buried the Raiders in that game. And that's what I look to see is when you have a potential flat spot on your schedule, is this a spot where you're going to be, like you talked about, fat and happy, or are you hungry? And I think, they keep getting hungry. They're in shape. These guys are lean and mean, and they are getting after it. So I was really impressed from both sides of the football with the Colts here. And coming into this matchup with the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray allegedly has a toe injury or a foot injury, may not be behind center in this matchup. Maybe not such a bad thing for the Cardinals, but it's Jacoby Brissett, the journeyman, coming in fact, to have to start for this game. I like the Colts. Let's lay this up.
All right, we'll see if we land there. We'll get to the end of the show and release all of our picks for Week 6 in the NFL. Next up on the docket, we look at a very interesting game. The Ravens, 1-4. They will host the Los Angeles Rams. We'll be back with more in just a moment on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
San Diego is home to Wolfpack Hospitality Restaurants, located in beautiful La Jolla. Stop by Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria on your next trip. Visit Cove House, a top 100 brunch in California, or Shore Rider, serving up margaritas, fish tacos, and a vibe that will make you feel like a regular in no time. For a slice of New York-style pizza with a California twist, it's Dough Mama Pizzeria, where the wings and pizza draw compliments from around the world. Go to wolfpackhospitality.com, and we will look forward to seeing you at Cove House, Shore Rider, and Dough Mama Pizzeria. When the football contest crew isn't busy dominating the field and making plays that leave opponents in the dust, they're doing something just as exciting. They're playing My Vegas Slots. It's a top-ranked, free-to-play mobile app that lets you earn valuable real-world rewards from amazing partners like MGM Grand, Bellagio, and Norwegian Cruise Line. You can score hotel stays, great meals, show tickets, and more just for playing. Download My Vegas Slots today from your favorite app store. And if you're anything like Brady, James, and Mike, we know you're going to love it. That's a winning play you won't want to miss.
Welcome back to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, presented by Circus Sports and the Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and Mike Pritchard with you. And we have come to the point in the program where we're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens, a massive disappointment this season, and so much of it has to do with injury. You wouldn't believe this point spread before the season started if you looked at it here. The Los Angeles Rams, a good team in their own right, coming off of a loss, off extra rest, losing to the 49ers last Thursday. They will go into Baltimore as 7.5-point favorites. Lamar Jackson not expected to be there at quarterback. Maybe they'll get Kyle Hamilton back. Maybe they'll get Ronnie Stanley back. We don't know. Mike, I made this line the Rams favored by 4. Over the summer at the Westgate, this was Ravens by 5.5. This is a 13-point adjustment. And it's hard to back the Ravens, but boy, that is a lot of points.
Yeah, perception is everything, but reality really kind of trumps perception. I mean, reality for the Ravens going into the year was that was an aging roster. And if they did suffer injuries, it wasn't going to be the same. Along the way, they lost confidence. In particular, Derrick Henry lost confidence. And I think that's why they're not consistent running the football. But this is interesting because, the Rams, and talk about the Rams training camp with Stafford, is he going to be healthy enough? But the Rams, if he is, this could be a Super Bowl caliber team. But I'm here to say that the Rams have been underwhelming in their games so far. They should have beat the Eagles. They blew that one. They should have beat the 49ers. They blew that one. So the Rams aren't closing. I mean, they're making critical mistakes on top of some moments where Stafford looks like he's not accurate throwing the football. And Devontae Adams, certainly he's lost a step. Puka Nacua, he's the guy that makes everything go for the Rams, but he needs help too, right? And I think Atwell, Tutu is banged up a little bit. So this is a Rams team that's getting a lot of respect against a lowly Baltimore Ravens team. But that Ravens team, I believe, James, they have some pride, and you talk about that a lot. And Harbaugh's been that type of culture. I call this division the culture division. And if they do get some key players back, I think this is going to be a more competitive game.
I agree, Mike. I think this is one that we've got to watch the practice reports. We're doing this on a Friday morning right now, so we don't have any access. Nothing's come out yet as far as the who's available and who actually showed up for practice on Friday today. So that's going to be something to have to look at come later this afternoon into the evening, because it is going to be key. You talked about the competitive pride for the Baltimore Ravens, and it is an older roster, but you also have a lot of veterans because of that on this roster, and I think that shows up in this game. That's the problem, though. We just don't know the status of so many players. I think for Baltimore, how much did that game, not only for the loss in week 1 on Sunday night with Buffalo, the way they were running all over the Bills, and then that late fumble by Derrick Henry, Brady, you mentioned the lack of confidence there for putting the ball on the ground. And I think coupled that with the fact of when they played the Detroit Lions on that Monday Night Football game at home, Detroit really just manhandled them. And that's where a lot of the injuries came from, was the fact that they got pushed around, and Detroit was by far the more physical team in that matchup. And I think that's where I think for this is it. I feel like the season is potentially on the line right now for the Ravens. So I suspect we're going to see the best effort, regardless of who actually is out there. I know last week, Brady, there were 5 rookies having to start on that defense for the Ravens in that matchup against the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans took full advantage of it. And that was a one-way street for Houston in that matchup. But I think for this game here, the 7.5, it's probably going to be the lean towards the dog, but it's really, Brady, going to be based on player availability.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it, both of you. And I would be 100% with you. I could only go to the dog here off of the result last week. People are thinking the Ravens are dead off of that completely lopsided loss to the Texans. But I, at the same time, feel the point spread is way too inflated in the Rams' favor here. At the same time, until we see who's actually going to be playing for Baltimore, it's a stay away, a tough one to figure out here. Let's move to Jacksonville. This is a team we've liked all season long. We've backed them a few times and a few times successfully, including last week in an outright win over the Kansas City Chiefs. We had them getting 3.5 in both of the contests here in Las Vegas. Now they're a favorite. They're a pick'em in the Circa Sports Million. They're a 1-point favorite in the Super Contest, hosting the Seattle Seahawks, who are coming off of a tough loss to the Buccaneers. You know, does Jacksonville, Mike, have a letdown here? You're a former Seahawk. Do you expect your team to bounce back?
Yeah, run games travel, and I always look at that. And Seattle definitely have a potent run game. The problem with Seattle obviously was Darnold down the stretch, and that's the matchup I'm looking forward and looking at trying to dissect between the Seahawks and Jaguars, because on the other side you got Trevor Lawrence, who was a little shaky down the stretch too, but he picked himself up off the ground and literally ran it in for the longest yard for a touchdown, right? If he loses that game with that kind of moment, I mean, I don't know what happens to Trevor Lawrence after that. Well, or you got Sam Darnold, who throws a pick, probably shouldn't have forced that ball there. Got all the momentum in the world at home. But Seattle travels well, guys. And this is a game where the Jags could have a letdown. That defense is ferocious, though. They get turnover after turnover. I mean, Seattle has to be careful. Sam Darnold, in particular, has to be careful with that. This is a back and forth game. And from a teaser standpoint, Seattle is highly attractive, guys. This is a game, though, for me. It's a pick 'em for a reason, and it could go either way. So from a contest standpoint, I'm a little shaky on this one, James.
Well, I like Seattle's defense for the first few weeks. Now, there were some key injuries in the back end and the secondary, in particular to safety Julian Love and Witherspoon. Reek Woolen had a concussion in that game and went out early. And we saw Baker Mayfield slinging the ball around. What a season he's been having, throwing the football for the Tampa Bay Bucks. The other piece with that is that's really a beat-up offensive line for the Tampa Bay Bucks. For Baker Mayfield, he had 38 dropbacks in that game. He only got hit once, so he had a clean pocket all day, and that's kind of the concern for me with Seattle going on the road now. At home, you would have thought those edges would have had a good jump with the crowd noise, being able to get off on those backup tackles to get in there and get after Baker Mayfield. No, that did not happen in that matchup. Only one hit on 38 dropbacks. That's a concern for me going into this game on the road. The other piece here, I think for Jacksonville, this is probably just going to be an assessment game. We had talked about Denver. And what was it going to look like for Denver? How are they going to go and step into that game for Philly? Well, I want to see now, how do the Jacksonville Jaguars deal with some success coming off a huge game on Monday night, beating the Kansas City Chiefs, Brady? I think this game for me is just going to be a watch and learn matchup.
Yeah, I think tremendous analysis. You're right. And you guys nailed it. The Seahawks, I mean, and that's a great observation. Only getting one hit on Baker Mayfield. I think that really speaks volumes about what this team did not do. And I worry about that situation going in on the road against a good team. We'll come back and talk Cowboys and Panthers next, right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Want to gamble like the pros? At LasVegasAdvisor.com, you'll find the world's best how-to books, software, and strategy cards featuring blackjack, poker, video poker, and of course, sports betting, including the Stanford Wong Classic Sharp Sports Betting. Don't forget LVA's Member Rewards coupon book, offering discounts on dining and entertainment, including a buy one, get one for the awesome lobster buffet at the Palms, and more than $700 in gambling-free play, match play, and bonus offers. Up your gambling game today at LasVegasAdvisor.com.
Welcome back in, everybody. It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, and now we are ready to talk about a couple of red-hot teams. The Panthers and the Cowboys are both coming off of a win. The Cowboys get one done over the Jets as a road favorite. An exciting comeback for the Panthers, getting past the Miami Dolphins last week. And now these teams are riding high a little bit. They'll face each other in Carolina on Sunday, James, and the Cowboys, for the second straight week, are a road favorite.
Road favorite. Well, that's what I want to see here. I mean, we know the they can score. Dallas can score. Even with CeeDee Lamb out, they can still sling the football around out there, but it's the defensive side. It's just been a pretty soft defense all season long. And we knew that going in. It's been a soft defense for a number of years, as a matter of fact. And now without Micah Parsons, really no pass rush to speak of. But are they going to do this again with Dallas coming into this matchup against a bad Carolina Panthers team? Yes, they got the win last week, come from behind win, but that was against the Miami Dolphins. But this is a tale with the Carolina Panthers, where this is a team that likes to play in the role of the underdog, and they're always the role of the underdog, so they're used to that. But especially at home, I think it's more so being that dog at home in this spot. And everybody gets up for the Cowboys, don't they, Pritch? I mean, that star on the helmet is a big target. You know, especially Rico Dowdell, who used to play for the Cowboys and didn't get a whole lot of opportunity there in his few years there in Dallas. We saw him emerge last week in place of Chuba Hubbard, rushing the football, and really inspired that team with the way that he was rushing. He rushed hungry. You like to look for guys and teams that are hungry, and he definitely was. So you know it's going to be a good matchup for Dowdell having to come in and face this matchup against his former team in Dallas. But for me, I think I like the dog here again. Let's go with the hungry dogs. I side with the Panthers here, getting the 3 at home.
Yeah, last night we saw Adoree Jackson not want anything to do with physical activity as he whipped and closed his eyes on trying to hit Scatterboo right there to prevent a touchdown. There's a lot of that, and there's a lot of that on the Dallas Cowboys. They do not want to mix it up. Rico is running for a job. I mean, I was saying that the whole game last week as I was highly, highly impressed with how he was running the football. And like you said, James, I mean, I think from an offensive line standpoint, they love that. I mean, they love the physical nature, and they love to push guys around. And, they got some good play from the quarterback there a little bit too, and they make some plays. They're a young, hungry team. The only question I had about Carolina is Canales the guy to kind of change it around? I know he's a good play caller. And certainly with Morgan as a GM, is he able to turn this around too? So I think it's a great matchup at home for Carolina. Like I said, Dallas, they're a finesse team. They do not want to be physical. They got some injuries on that side of the ball too that I think that can hamper them. But where I think the edge is for the Panthers is Dallas Cowboys. They don't have a running game to travel with. They throw the ball almost 70% of the time, and rightly so, because Dak is all they got, him and Pickens, and they try to light up the scoreboard and win games that way. But in a tough physical matchup, in a sound running game, yeah, give me the dog in that matchup, especially at home, Brady. And I tell you, I mean, these games, the more you watch them, the more teams are more even, right? Evenly matched. And I think that's the case with the Chargers as well. Harbaugh, another Harbaugh brother right there, talking about how he's changed the culture and how everything is going in the right direction with Herbert. But here you are with the Chargers all banged up, big time banged up. And I think that coaching job gets more and more difficult there with the Chargers on the road against the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's really difficult to lay 4 points with this Los Angeles Chargers team right now. I think everybody had high hopes for this team after the first few weeks. They looked great, but now the injuries are really starting to pile up for this team. They've now lost 2 in a row, one on the road, one at home. Now they're in the role of road favorite. I'm not, and I don't necessarily want to, I think I would probably take the 4 with Miami, but I don't feel real comfortable with that either. The Chargers could all of a sudden show up and just throttle the Dolphins. I'm not so sure about this game. Don't have a good feel for it. I'm with you guys on the Panthers, and I think you make a great observation there, Mike. That physical running team against the finesse Dallas Cowboys. This is also telling to me. Over the summer at the Westgate, the Cowboys were a 1.5 point favorite in this game. Why are they 3 now? Are all of a sudden the Cowboys great and the Panthers are that bad? No, I don't know if that much has changed since these lines came out. So the 1.5 point adjustment there all the way to a key number of a field goal, I think is very interesting in that one. James, any opinion for you? Do you have a side that you like with the Chargers and the Dolphins?
Well, I just think right now the Chargers are just too beat up. The offensive line is absolute wreck. You've got backup offensive linemen across the board. You may have a third stringer on playing tackle at both sides. So that's going to be a problem, even though Miami doesn't have a great pass rush. They lost rookie running back Mario Hampton. So I don't know where the rushing game is going to come. Herbert's been getting beat up this year. They jumped out to a 10-0 lead last week. Those injuries went down, and so did their scoring. They didn't score again after the first quarter. Right now, the Chargers right now are an absolute stay away from me.
All right. We don't have a ton to talk about, unfortunately, for Survivor topics here, as we are out. All three of our entries, we lost with the Chargers a couple weeks ago, and then both of our remaining 2 entries out last week with the Cardinals and Bills. But we'll go over some recommended plays, of course, right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Las Vegas isn't just a place to play, it's a great place to live. Louis Payon with Magenta Real Estate is a trusted 5-star real estate professional who's called Vegas home for over 3 decades. Whether you're looking to buy or sell, Louis will guide you every step of the way with proven strategies that deliver results. Call Louis today at 702-849-7160. That's 702-849-7160. Louis Payon is the official realtor of the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
It is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show presented by our dear friends at Circa Sports and the Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Thank you very much for their continued support. And thank you to you, the audience. Check us out at footballcontestshow.com. Everything you need to understand about the show, our picks, our sponsors, whatever information, where you can find us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, you name it. It's all there at footballcontestshow.com. All right, gentlemen, we have reached the point of the program here where we discuss Survivor, and unfortunately, we are no longer involved. But hey, like I said, the silver lining, we went 2.5 times as long as we did last year. And if we continue on that pace, we're going to be in the money here pretty soon. I mean, that would basically have us getting to Thanksgiving next year if we continue that same pace. And that's around the time when you can start to monetize in a big-time Survivor contest like they hold here at Circa. The biggest favorite on the board this week, Mike, is the Green Bay Packers, coming out of a bye week and off of a loss prior to the bye week and a tie, a very disappointing tie in Dallas. And they will take on the Cincinnati Bengals, who are going to make a change at quarterback to Joe Flacco. I think it's hard to believe that the Packers aren't going to win this game. If you have them available in Survivor, what do you think about the spread? I'd probably lay it, to be honest with you.
Wow, that's a big spread to lay. I mean, the NFL is funny. Joe Flacco has been around enough teams and played enough football to where everything's going to be familiar to him. You know, right? I guess the biggest question is, can he develop any type of chemistry with 2 number 1 wide receivers when you think about Wiggins and Chase? And so that's going to be interesting. I mean, the Bengals, they have other issues of defense and running game, lack thereof, and all that. So I think a lot of the focus will be on the quarterback and that situation. Is he going to be able to make plays? I mean, Browning completely lost confidence. So on the other side, you got the Packers, just run the football and you should win the game. You should be able to do that. But the Packers are working on some things themselves, right? The inconsistency offensively as well. I mean, I think defensively, they should be okay, at least keeping them in the game. But offensively, they got to get on track and be more consistent. And the thing with Survivor is we always think about this, at least I do, and I fall into this trap about the holidays, right? We got to have teams available for the holidays, whereas there's traps and landmines and everything else during the course of the season, as we see as teams are going through these quizzes, these phases. Are they consistent? Are they really good? Are they for real? And I'm talking about these favorites, as we saw heavy favorites lose outright last week. So I think from that experience, the rate of elimination really hopped on the train there right now, and 5th game into the season, as opposed to later on, like you said, Brady, we can monetize that way. So I think the philosophy moving forward is just get there, be available in the end of December and see what you need to do at that point with your survival entries. But I think Green Bay might be 100% selected by the people that have them available coming up this week. Never a sure thing in the National Football League, but I do feel like Green Bay should come out on top in that game.
Rich, I'll just say it. I'm terrible at Survivor. I don't like Survivor. It's not my thing. I know it gets a lot of hype, and there's $18 million in the pot. But for the way that I handicap the NFL, this is a week to week league. We see it with the injuries, the scheduling spots, you name it. It's for me, that's my handicap. It's situational. It's from week to week based on availability, maybe potential flat spots. And that's the hard part because I have to completely change my mindset when it comes to handicapping these games for Survivor, because we're plotting out for the entirety of the season. In particular, we talked about the holidays. That's what makes it really challenging. So it is challenging for one. It's a completely different type of handicap. I'm just not any good at it because I don't like to have to try to look out. I spent so much damn time trying to look at the best spot on the schedule for each team down the road in week 7 and week 12 and these things. And I'm not focused on the week that's at hand. Now that we're out of it, I'm not going to say that's a good thing, but it helps me spend my time now back to picking 5 games against the spread this week. And if I was picking a game this week, I mean, you got Joe Flacco having to come over to Cincinnati. Yeah, he's got better targets, but is he going to be able to have any time to throw the football? It's the worst offensive line, Brady, in football is the Cincinnati Bengals. And now you're going to have Flacco, who doesn't want to get hit. He can't move around in the pocket. I don't think he can last for 4 quarters. We've already heard Zach Taylor say, well, Flacco gives us a better chance to win than obviously the incumbent was Jake Browning. Well, good job, coach. Way to coach up your young player as a quarterback there. Go ahead, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it's been, and jettison him out and go get the dinosaur back there, the statue that is Flacco. I think they get buried. I think Cincinnati is absolutely throwing the towel in, trying to get Flacco. I don't know. You have Burrow waiting in the wings, Brady. They're sure as hell not trying to tank for Archie Manning. That's already been a lost cause out there in Texas. But I don't know what they're doing in Cincinnati. I think this is Zach Taylor's last season. I think he finishes out the season because Cincinnati's too damn cheap to have to find anything else during the season. But I think this is a one-way street. Micah Parsons that should just be licking his chops to add up the tallies on his sack and get those more incentives for him as a defensive player. I think Flacco gets buried in this game.
I don't disagree with you one bit, James. And maybe this would be a little bit of a contrarian play from an against the spread perspective, because, you mentioned, Mike, how many people really want to lay 14 or 14 and a half points in the Circus Sports Million? But part of my angle here is I like to bet on teams that go into their bye week on a struggle. And that's exactly what the Packers were doing. They lost to the Cleveland Browns. They tied the Dallas Cowboys. They have to get things right. They have to pause and reset. And we know they have a lot of potential. They have a lot of talent. And now they're going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. And like you said, James, Joe Flacco, who cares? And Mike, you mentioned these problems, the defense, the lack of a running game. I'll tell you what, to James's point, Zach Taylor's a big problem as well. And yeah, if the Cincinnati Bengals have any sort of organizational, force or fortitude, what have you, this is his last season. He could be saved by the fact that his quarterback is not there to, represent this team. But yeah, I'm not a big Zach Taylor fan. And with that situation with Green Bay looking to get right and turn their season back around off of a bye week after a couple games when they didn't look so sharp, I could see them burying this team as well. Maybe that one does make our card. A couple other big favorites, the Denver Broncos. Now, we use that one on Monday night over guess who? Those same Cincinnati Bengals successfully. The Los Angeles Rams are a big favorite. A lot of people used the Rams in week 5 and lost to the San Francisco 49ers. We use the Rams in week 1, from a survivor perspective. So those teams, I tell you what, guys, maybe we're kind of feeling good about no longer having to deal with survivor. Mike, this is a tough looking week considering the big favorites, even the Packers, the Rams, the Broncos. I would say in large part, those teams by a lot of people have already been used.
Yeah, I think so. And if you're holding back the Eagles, I mean, look what happened to them last night too. Divisional matchups are always tricky. We found that out with Buffalo and New England. And the youth magnify that with the fact that, okay, you're on Sunday Night Football and that's just different. Those kind of matchups are different. And so looking at the favorites and looking at the streaks, I think favorites straight up going into last week was almost 80%. So you think the odds are certainly in your favor, but the course of the season, and I said this earlier, for us as players, everything was a bunch of quizzes, and we have to pass that test at the end of the year, and that's meaning getting into the playoffs. And so many teams, they're going to have bumps in the road. They're going to have problems. They're not going to be consistent. They're going to have injuries. Something irregular is definitely going to happen. Can you overcome that adversity? So we're seeing that play out certainly at the end of September into October. I think right at the end of October, you really get a good feel on what you're capable of as a football team, what you can adapt to as well. I mean, are the Commanders going to be consistent now moving forward, that Daniels is back and he's back healthy? Can he have that continuity, or can he develop any continuity with that young football team, some young players as well? So some new players too. So we'll see. I mean, that's why we love the game. That's why we love the NFL, though each and every week, like James was talking about, is so different. And so now against the spread, we'll be able to focus in that regard that way.
I think you bring up a good point there. So many people, the general public, the recreational bettor, gets locked into what they saw last. But like you guys both point out, the NFL is week to week. You have to treat each week as a new one, because you never know really what team is going to show up, and usually not the same one that showed up the week prior. We'll see if that plays out here in week 6. We get on to the late slate here, and we start in Tampa Bay with the Bucs and the Niners when we return on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Want to enter the biggest and best football contests in Las Vegas? Look no further than footballcontest.com to get the info you need to succeed. Covering Circa Million, Circa Survivor, Grandissimo, and every super contest at the Westgate Superbook. Reserve the most trusted proxy service in the business now at footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have been leaders in the industry for 20 years. They submit your picks while you focus on picking winners. Experience matters. Go with the pros at footballcontest.com and start winning now.
Looking for your next ultimate golf experience? Discover Valley High Golf Club, a tropical paradise on the Las Vegas Strip, featuring lush greenery, water features, Balinese tropical plants, white sand, and black volcanic rock, creating an enchanting atmosphere. Valley High creates a memorable golf experience for a typical foursome, a group celebrating a bachelor or bachelorette party, or your next corporate outing. It's award-winning golf on the Strip, Vegas style. Book your ultimate golf experience now at valleyhighgolfclub.com.
All right, we head to Tampa Bay, Florida, where the Buccaneers at 4-1 on the season will host the 4-1 San Francisco 49ers. A good matchup. Of course, both teams pretty banged up with injury here. Mac Jones looks like he'll probably get the start at quarterback. We're not even just sure of that yet, as he's nursing some injuries as well. Good matchup here, James, and Tampa Bay favored by a field goal.
You mentioned Mac Jones and the injuries. We saw what a gutty performance we saw out of Mac Jones last Thursday against the Rams. I mean, yeah, he was, you could see he was already coming into that game with his knee injury, and man, did he take a beating, because he wasn't very mobile at all coming into the league as a rookie, and he's only slowed down, especially now with the knee injuries that he suffered. And he took some shots in that game and really held up under pressure, standing in there every split second to make those throws down the field. Played a tremendous game. Such a competitive aspect that I don't know if we've really seen out of Mac Jones since he's been in the NFL, but new change of scenery there with San Francisco has done him well. But really beat up having to go on this matchup now. I know he's dealing also with an oblique injury. He's been very limited in practice so far this week, and did hear that Adrian Martinez, the rookie out of whether it's Nebraska, Kansas State, wherever he's been. I know these college football players now bounce around like free agents with NIL deals all the time, but hasn't thrown a pass in the NFL and was running first team. He had a number of reps with the first team on Thursday in San Francisco. And I can dig into this with Pritch. I think that tells us something, that if you have a rookie having to take first team reps, we know that Mac Jones is not in a great condition to potentially play. And if he does play in this game, is he going to be able to sustain for 4 quarters? We know that you're going to see a lot of different looks from Tampa on that defensive front. And, Bowles sees they're going to smell blood and see an injured quarterback in there. I'm sure we're going to see plenty of different looks and blitz packages coming from that Bucs defense. But I talked about this earlier in the show. I think what was really impressive last week with that Bucs win on the road, we know they didn't have Bucky Irving, and you've got a number. Mike Evans is out for that team. A lot of injuries on that offensive side for the Bucs. man, what a clean pocket Baker Mayfield got to throw the football from last week in Seattle on the road. Only being hit, it was a sack, but he only got hit. That was the only hit. Took one sack, only hit one time on 38 dropbacks. Pretty impressive job by that Tampa Bay Bucks team up front, which has been kind of injured themselves here. Pritch, I think this is a tough spot to go across the country here with a banged up backup quarterback in Mac Jones for San Francisco. I like the Bucks. I'm surprised it's only 3. I suspect we'll hear some more today with the Friday practice reports. That number's only going to go up. So from a contest standpoint, Pritch, I think this is where we get to take an opportunity at a small number with the Bucks at home.
Yeah, highly attractive situation right there. I mean, Baker, full disclosure, 22-1 from MVP before that Seattle game. And I looked at his market and certainly wanted to place a bet there. And so now if you look at him, he's at 14-1 for MVP. So a lot of momentum there. Baker has been everything for Tampa. Just the belief that they're going to win comes from Baker. The rookie wide receiver and his thrust upward is because of Baker, right? And that is without Mike Evans. And so they're going to get better along the way. On the other side, 49ers, another team that I thought was pretty much aged. And you wonder what was going to happen if it was sustainable, even if they were healthy. All right. But now they're not healthy, and the quarterback situation is not what it needs to be. It makes me think back to when they're in the NFC Championship game without a quarterback, because here you go. Once again, the situation with Mac Jones, and those injuries are significant. So when I get asked by gamblers in particular about travel, does it make a difference? You bet this travel will make a difference for Mac Jones traveling from San Francisco all the way to Tampa. Think about an oblique injury and your knee and your body's banged up and you're sitting on an airplane uncomfortable for 5 hours. And then you got to get your body revved up and go. On top of that, he's only been limited in practice. And what that really means is that he's only gone through walkthroughs. So this is all a mental rep situation for Mac Jones. And I don't know if he's a type of quarterback just with mental reps that he's going to be that guy that can put back-to-back superb games together. And that's what they're going to need, I think, on a road against Tampa. And so Tampa's in a great spot, I believe, in this matchup to really take advantage of that roster that's coming down from San Francisco, and certainly the momentum that they've generated so far this season.
All right, guys, next game for the schedule here on the contest card is the New England Patriots, fresh off of that upset of the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football last week, traveling to New Orleans, where the Saints got their first win of the season over the New York Giants, and the Patriots in the role of road favorite here. Boy, where have we come in the last week or two in New England? Boy, they're getting some respect here in the market, and I feel like maybe a possible sign of a little overconfidence laying 3 in a hook. This Saints team plays hard every week for Kellen Moore. I think he's doing a very good job. I know they're 1-4, but they have been competitive, and we all expected them to beat the Giants last week. Would have been nice to have that one in Survivor or something like that, but I don't know if they're getting enough respect here. I mean, the New England Patriots have lost to the Raiders. They've lost to the Steelers. Is Drake May really all that now, or is he still Drake May B? I think it's a little too much points to lay on the road here at New Orleans, and I don't feel they're overconfident at all, James. I think they're starting to build some confidence.
Especially with the hook. I like the 3.5 at home with New Orleans. That's a tough spot now going on the road again for New England, coming off a huge win against their division rival in Buffalo. I think this smells like a flat spot in the schedule. We talked about it. That's the hard part with survivors, trying to break everything out for the entire season. To me, it's such a situational spot, and I really like the situation here for the New Orleans Saints. Another game I want to talk about real quick that I like the situation, the Detroit Lions. They're going, it's Sunday Night Football. They're going to Kansas City. Kansas City off the short week, losing late against Jacksonville and we've seen it from Kansas City. They've had so many games last year where they won by 1 score. That's not happening this year. And we're getting a couple points here with the Lions, Pritch. I just think this Lions team is hungry from the last couple years of their tough losses that they've had in the playoffs, the way that they run the football, how physical they are up front, and they do it consistently for 4 quarters. This is a hungrier football team right here. I'll take the Lions on the road, Pritch, going to Kansas City.
Yeah, a lot of people don't want to give points to Kansas City at home, in particular bookmakers, right? I mean, Kansas City at home has been so strong. We saw that happen earlier this year against Baltimore. This is a different game, though. I mean, this is the Detroit Lions, who they were number 1 seed last year, right? And got ousted, in the playoffs. So they are on a revenge tour, in my opinion. And I think Campbell has those guys' attention, and they're healthy, and they're dominating. They have so much depth, and they have so many options, even without the great Ben Johnson calling plays offensively. So it's a tough matchup for Kansas City here after a tough game on the road. I know we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt being at home, but the Detroit Lions as the dog in this one is highly attractive.
Yeah, I really can't believe that Kansas City's favored. We'll touch on that a little bit more, get to our picks and the Monday Nighter when we come back.
Steiner's, a Nevada-style pub, invites you to play the best keno and video poker in Las Vegas. Promos are how we roll, so make the most of your gaming dollars with ongoing promotions, daily free play, bonuses, and more. With a chance to win Knights, Raiders, Aviators tickets, and big money with all those jackpots. It's not only great gaming at Steiner's, it's the 24 awesome rotating draft beers and the best appetizers to match. Steiner's, the Nevada-style pub, with 3 locations across the Vegas Valley. Steiner's, I love this place.
Final segment of Week 6 on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and Mike Pritchard with you. And it's time to release our picks. We don't have a survivor dog in the fight any longer, but we are still well alive and kicking in the Against the Spread contest. For the Circus Sports Million in Week 6, we're going with the Colts, laying the 7 points. We're going with the Panthers getting 3 at home, hosting the Cowboys. The Buccaneers laying 3 points, welcoming the 49ers to town. We're going to take the Saints catching 3 and a hook against the Patriots in New Orleans. And then finally, the Lions in Circus Sports Million getting just 2 points at Arrowhead against the Chiefs. For the Westgate Super Contest, a similar card, one small change. We're going with the Colts laying the 7, the Buccaneers laying the 3, the Saints catching the 3.5, the Lions getting 2.5 in the Super Contest. And then finally, the second leg of the Monday night doubleheader. We're going to take the Chicago Bears getting 4.5 coming out of a bye week, taking on the Washington Commanders. And Mike, this is an interesting situation from the game we saw last year when the Bears thought they had it in a bag and they got burned with a Hail Mary by Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, the details, the finer details, right? And I think if you think about the Bears this year, Ben Johnson is trying to make sure that the guys are focused on the little details. Don't stay out the crowd. We used to say that. Stay out the crowd. There's no reason to be in the crowd. And we saw that defender in the crowd before that Hail Mary and they lose the game. So if Ben Johnson is there to correct the minor details, then this team is going to get better during the course of the season. If you would have said that the Bears would be 2-2 after 1 month, I mean, they take that. I mean, they're feeling pretty good after a bye too. So the mission here is to go on the road against the Commanders team, who I think has been inconsistent. Injuries have played a role. McLaurin not effective because of his holdout. He's banged up. That wide receiver curse, right? You hold out and you get banged up. And so can Daniels develop any type of consistency and in continuity with the guys that's going to be on the field? And I think it's too early to tell that. He's an extraordinary player. I really, really like his game. But I think Caleb going back in an area where he grew up and, with some momentum on his side, I mean, there's an opportunity right there in this game, guys, for the Bears, right? You're part of a show when you're talking about a primetime situation too. And I think the Bears are feeling pretty good about themselves, James.
I do too. I think for some teams, it's such an early bye week. You're talking, you played 4 games and it's week 5 and you're already on the bye. It's like we're just getting going, especially for the Bears, having won 2 games in a row, feeling like we've got momentum. Now all of a sudden we got to shut that down. Although I think from this standpoint, Brady, with having Ben Johnson there as the coach, still trying to get working through everything that he's trying to implement on the offensive side of the ball for the Chicago Bears. This is an opportunity for a lot of classroom work. So it's not like, man, we're really beat up. We really needed this bye. Everybody get an extra time off and go heal up. It's all right. Got some film. Here's some homework. Let's keep working. We got some momentum. We're feeling good about ourselves, feeling like we're finally starting to it's starting to make some sense. So I think in that sense, from a learning and a teaching perspective and and a coaching perspective, the bye was probably at a good point coming up for this game against the Commanders, because I'm sure this is one that the Bears, thinking about how they dumped that last year in Washington on that Hail Mary, probably had this game circled, Brady, as a little redemption coming in on Monday night.
And a situation that I really like to bet against is Dan Quinn the week before a division game. Next week, they will travel to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Dan Quinn, excellent in division games. I might be betting on him next week, but the week before a division game, he does not have a great track record. Let's look at the other Monday night game, a part of a doubleheader. The first one will kick off in Atlanta. Mike, another former home of yours, and you kind of like the Falcons catching points against the Buffalo Bills off a loss.
I do. It's a good matchup. I mean, offensively, there's a lot to like about Atlanta. It's just, can Penix be that guy, and can he evolve his game? We know what Josh Allen is, and we know what the Buffalo Bills are all about. And in that case, so does everybody else, right? If you're highly familiar with the Bills, you can neutralize them. You can slow them up a little bit. You can trip them up a little bit. We saw that recently with the divisional game against New England. So the Falcons with this game in the Georgia Dome, I called it Georgia Dome. That was my home. But the new stadium that they have, I mean, that thing should be rocking for a primetime event.
Yeah. James, do you have any opinion on this game real quick?
Disappointing performance from the Bills last week. No pass rush to speak of. Really got banged up on the defensive side. I don't like this game from the Bills side. It's at Falcons or pass for me.
The Falcons have a great running game. The Bills do not have a great run defense. We will see. Probably going to stay away from that one as far as our bets. And it did not make our card this week. Have a great week 6, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with more next week right here on the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Thanks for tuning in to the Las Vegas Football Contest Show.
Don't you just love football? God, what a fun sport.
Subscribe today on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts to receive weekly alerts as soon as the show's available. Good luck with your contest selections.
Pay that man his money.
And we'll talk to you next week.